So this is going to be another installment in my food, eating healthy, natural kind of videos. And in this one, I wanted to talk specifically about grocery shopping for groceries at the store, and my tips and tricks to buying healthier things, because sometimes it's tempting. There's so many things, even in a healthy store like Whole Foods, that I don't want to eat. Not that they're not natural, there's plenty of organic things, but there's lots of processed food, and even if it's organic, it's been processed. There's things that I avoid, like I avoid cooking with Teflon, for example, but say you're buying some, organic processed, boxed food, chances are it probably is cooked on things with Teflon, just because that makes things not stick very well. And I doubt that these big, manufacturers, when they're making their machines, are like, let's make our lives more difficult and, get non-Teflon things that'll, make stuff stick to them and stuff like that. And, I doubt that they're doing that. Maybe some of them are, but most of them probably are not. So there's that. You're getting chemicals introduced via, how they're cooked. Maybe they're stored in plastic containers. Maybe they're cooked in, using plastic utensils and things. Part of the machinery is plastic, and so there's chemicals from the plastic leaching in. And there's just all kinds of tricky, sneaky ways that companies that produce processed foods are adding things to their food that you may not even know about, that may not even be listed as an ingredient. For example, I was reading about orange juice, that in order to make it last longer, companies like Tropicana are storing it in these big vats. They're removing the oxygen from it, which makes it last longer. However, it loses a lot of the taste, and then they're adding these flavor packs, they're called, which is made from oranges. They're like from, I think, orange essential oils or something, so they're adding that back in. And even though it's now become kind of a processed product that has had things both removed and added to it, they're able to say 100% orange juice on the label, just due to some of these loopholes, and the things that they're adding are technically from oranges. So they're able to say 100% orange juice, not from concentrate. So you're thinking, oh, it's just been squeezed fresh out of the orange, but that's really not the case. So there's lots of tricky things, I'm sure, that go on like that. So I just try to avoid processed food altogether. And you may have heard this, but shopping around the outside of the store is something that'll really help you do that, because on the outside you have your produce, your fruits and veggies, then you keep going, you have like dairy. Well, it depends on the store, I'm sure, but you got dairy, cheeses, milk, all that stuff. You got meat, seafood, and then in my store anyways, as you come around, and there's the bakery, and so you have bread and stuff like that, and also cookies and cakes. So that's kind of the one unhealthy little area if you're shopping the outsides. But the processed box food, for the most part, is in the middle kind of aisles. So I try to stay away from those aisles. On occasion, I will go in to get things like mayonnaise and ketchup and olive oil, some things like that. So what I like to do before going to the grocery store to prevent the temptation to kind of veer off my path and buy things that are yummy, because we all crave things that taste good. It's true. It's very hard to resist sometimes. Sometimes you just really want a cookie, or you really want a piece of chocolate, especially if you're trying to eat healthy and you're trying to avoid those things. Our bodies get addicted to sugar, and it's a real, legitimate addiction. It's been proven. It's even more addictive. They did studies that they found it more addictive than, I forget if it was heroin or cocaine or something, but some hardcore drug. So sugar is incredibly addictive, and you can kind of work your way down and use less and less and less, and use more natural kinds of sugars, which is what I have done. I have not cut sugar completely 100% out of my diet, just because it's found in a lot of things. It's found in fruits, and I like to use raw honey sometimes, and sometimes my second choice would be maple syrup, organic maple syrup as well, because it's, for me, it's impossible to cut it 100% out of my diet, but I cut it out as much as I can, and then I use natural substitutes in those times that I may need a tiny bit here and there. So what I like to do, I'm sorry that I'm just getting around to this now, is I like to eat a good, satisfying meal. I like to make sure that I am not hungry, that I'm not craving any sweets or things like that. I have a few ideas on my channel. I have a playlist of recipes, and I have some ideas of healthy yet sweet and satisfying, especially if you like chocolate like me, treats. There's also quite a few blogs out there, like Chocolate Covered Katie, I know, has a lot of recipes that are great. So if I'm craving something sweet, I will make something like my banana milkshake, which uses frozen bananas and milk and raw organic cacao powder, and makes something that for me is similar enough to a chocolate milkshake where I feel satisfied and I have that need, you know, met with that alternative milkshake. So I like to make sure that's kind of the state that I'm in when I go grocery shopping, because if I'm hungry, if I'm craving something really bad, and then it's one thing when you're at home and you don't have it in your house, but it's another thing when it's right in front of you, staring you in the face and is saying, you know, buy me right now. So I like to not have any cravings, go into the store with that kind of mindset, nice and full, satisfied. I also like to make a shopping list. I like to plan out my meals, write down everything I will need, and I kind of know the order that I pass the store in, so I'll write it in that order so I'm not kind of running back and forth different areas, and I just kind of go through and I buy the things that I need to buy from my list, meals that I've planned, and that makes it a lot easier for me too. Thinking on the spot is much more likely, at least for me, going to result in grabbing processed food, something that's ready-made. So making grocery lists and sticking to it and meal planning is really, really key, and that helps me. Also, shopping at healthy stores. Like, I pretty much exclusively shop at Whole Foods. I like Trader Joe's too for some things. They are cheaper for organic fruits and vegetables. They have less local things than Whole Foods does, but they are cheaper, and especially if you're on a budget, sometimes that really helps. And I do have a grocery store close by that is a Harris Teeter that I pretty much shop at every once in a blue moon when I'm really in a pinch for something. They do have a couple of organic things that I can get, but I like to not shop at stores like that just because it's harder for me to find things. They have less things, less ingredients for me to cook from, and then it's easier to rely on processed food. You know, maybe they don't have like organic pizza dough and the ingredients needed to make yourself at home organic pizza, but they have a frozen organic pizza, you know, so then you might opt for that, and it's a processed food, and I'm trying to avoid that. Whole Foods does have organic whole wheat pizza dough, although that is like a pre-made food. A lot of times they make it in the store. And shopping at Whole Foods also really helps you avoid certain ingredients. It helps you avoid dyes, because I don't believe they sell any products with dyes. It helps you avoid hydrogenated oils, because again, they don't sell products with hydrogenated oils in them, so they already did the task of looking through the labels for you and weeding out a lot of those, you know, really unhealthy things. However, there's still plenty of unhealthy things that are left that is just impossible for them to weed out, like genetically modified ingredients, GMOs, because right now labeling in the United States is not required, as you may know, of GMOs. So of course they can't. They don't know themselves which things have GMOs, which ones don't. And one thing you can look for is the non-GMO verified little symbol. I think it looks like wheat. It's like a little square with like wheat. I mean, you would know it if you've seen it. It says non-GMO on it. And another thing that Whole Foods tries to do is they have their own 365 brand, and they do not use genetically modified ingredients in their 365 brand. So for example, if you can't shop organic because sometimes organic, it is more expensive. I spend a ton of money on groceries every week, and not everybody necessarily has that luxury. It's difficult. Buying groceries is really difficult, especially when you're trying to eat clean and healthy and organic. And they have, for example, frozen corn that's not organic, that's cheaper than the organic counterpart. And corn is something that is, for the most part, all genetically modified. I just assume with things like sugar from sugar beets, corn, canola, soy, if it's not organic, you can just assume that it's genetically modified because like 90% of it is in the United States. So at least with the 365 brand, which tends to be pretty cheap, as it is, like significantly cheaper than the more like actual brands, like known brands. And it's also, you can trust it to be genetically modified, so you can buy that non-organic corn and save money and buy it from 365 brand, for example. However, if you are going to buy non-organic things, there is a list. I don't have everything memorized and I'm not going to recite it for you right now, but there's the clean and also the dirty dozen. And basically the dirty dozen is going to familiarize you with fruits and vegetables and basically produce that uses the most pesticides and chemicals in their production. So things I know off the top of my head: grapes, apples, lettuce, I believe, is on there as well. So if you are going to be buying non-organic, either choose other produce, or if you're going to be buying the Dirty Dozen list, buy those organic. And then the clean list, I think things like watermelon, avocado, bananas, at least used to be on there. Those you can buy, if you must, you can buy those non-organic. They're a little bit safer because they don't use as many pesticides, or in the case of bananas and watermelon, you're not eating, and avocados too, I guess, you're not eating the peel, the shell. They have sometimes thicker or harder peels and shells and things like that on them. So that's another thing to help you. And then by buying these kinds of, healthy natural things and not having junk food in your home, you're not going to be tempted to eat it. For example, I don't have, anything bad in any of my pantries right now, so if I get the craving for something, I have to, first of all, I have to make it from scratch. So I do think to myself, I can make kind of sweeter treats. I do have honey and things like that. So if I wanted, I could bake cookies with honey, for example, if I really wanted to. But because I have to make it from scratch, I think to myself, oh, is it really worth the effort? Maybe I can just hold my craving over with something else. Maybe I can just use some cacao powder and, actually I have some tea that has cacao powder in it that's kind of like a chocolatey tea, doesn't have any sweeteners in it or anything like that. Maybe I can just do that to take care of my cravings. So I always think, because it's natural to think of quicker and easier things, especially if you're like me and you have little kids, time is so precious. And another thing that really helps, this isn't a grocery shopping now, I guess I'm going a little bit on a tangent here, but in terms of actually cooking food and having things be quicker and easier, because if you have kids or, you after work, it's late, you don't have a lot of time to cook, using a slow cooker. I have this amazing, it's a rice cooker / slow cooker called VitaClay, and it uses a safe clay pot that is lead-free. It is not coated with Teflon or anything. It is just pure clay, and it has different settings. I believe now it even has a setting to make yogurt, which mine is a little bit older. It doesn't have, but it has a setting. You can use it to make soups. You can use it to make stews, which kind of uses it as a slow cooker. You can preset it to turn on at a certain time and then cook for, you know, however many hours you want. So you could be at work and an hour before you get home, it turns on and cooks, you know, whatever you put in it for you. And this probably should be a separate video, but I'll mention this here, and then this feels like it should fit in a separate video about, you know, cooking quick and cooking healthy. But it also has a setting for rice, which will cook grains like buckwheat, and I like buckwheat a lot, and other grains as well, oatmeal. So it actually has like a sensor, which it can tell when the rice is cooked. It has both white and brown as different settings, and it'll cook it perfectly for you. It tells you, you know, how much water and how much rice, and the little booklet that comes with it. So things like that really makes it quick and easy to cook from scratch. Like I eat meat, so I'll put meats and vegetables and spices and things, and it's pretty quick and easy to make a meal that way. So wanted to mention that. But basically, this video is about how to buy healthy things at the grocery store. So just to recap, choose healthy stores like Whole Foods. They already weeded out a lot of unhealthy things for you. Go on the outside of the store, except for the cake section and the cookie section, avoid that. But, you know, buy ingredients, cook from scratch, make a shopping list. You know, go in and out, you just follow your shopping list. Don't veer all over the store and be tempted. You know, don't go in the aisle looking at the cookies or the potato chips. Make sure you're satisfied. You ate, you feel full, you're not craving anything. Try to satisfy any cravings you may have before you go in the store so you're not tempted. And basically that's it. So hopefully this video is helpful to you. These are just all things that kind of help me. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.